Oliver Parker always followed the same routine. Every morning, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled his small apartment. He would brew the perfect cup, sit by his window, and enjoy the quiet of his solitary mornings. But there was one thing that always threw off this peaceful ritual. Charlie, his mischievous cat. Charlie wasn't just your ordinary house cat. He had a strange obsession with Oliver's coffee mug. Every single morning, without fail, the moment Oliver would place his coffee on the kitchen counter or the coffee table, Charlie would leap into action. With the precision of a seasoned athlete, Charlie would knock the mug off the surface, sending it crashing to the floor. At first, Oliver thought it was just a fluke. Maybe the cat was just a little too curious. But after a week of the same behavior, Oliver knew it was something deeper, something more deliberate. "Charlie!" Oliver would shout, exasperated. "Not again!" Charlie, unfazed, would simply dart off to the living room, leaving the scene of the crime behind him. This was no ordinary mishap. There was something behind Charlie's actions, something Oliver couldn't understand, and it was starting to drive him crazy. Oliver began to notice a pattern. It wasn't just any time that Charlie knocked over the mug. It was always during a very specific moment. When the clock struck 7:30 a.m., like clockwork, Charlie would suddenly appear. Even if he had been napping just moments before, the sound of the brewing coffee seemed to stir something in him. As Oliver set his mug down, Charlie would rise from his bed and walk purposefully to the table. It didn't take long for the next moment to unfold. The paw would rise, and the mug would fall. "Why?" Oliver muttered to himself one morning. "What is it with you and my coffee?" The mystery deepened as Oliver tried every trick in the book. He tried leaving the coffee mug on the far edge of the table, thinking that Charlie would avoid it. But no, Charlie would nudge it to the edge, knocking it off. He even tried using a heavier, more sturdy mug, but Charlie found a way to send that one flying as well. Frustrated, Oliver reached out to his sister Sophie for advice. "Ollie, you've got to be kidding me," Sophie said on the phone after Oliver described the situation. "He's just a cat. Maybe he's trying to get your attention. Cats are weird like that." "I don't think it's that simple," Oliver replied, his voice laced with doubt. "It's not just attention-seeking. There's something more to it. He doesn't even try to drink the coffee. He just knocks it over." "Maybe you should ask Mr. Hargrove. He's always talking about animal behavior. He could be able to help." The suggestion caught Oliver's attention. Maybe, just maybe, Mr. Hargrove could shine some light on the situation. That afternoon, Oliver knocked on Mr. Hargrove's door, hoping the elderly neighbor might have some insight. Mr. Hargrove, who was sitting on his porch with a cup of tea, looked up when he saw Oliver approaching. Well, if it isn't young Mr. Parker," he said with a smile. "What brings you by today?" "Hey, Mr. Hargrove, I have a weird question for you," Oliver began, sitting down beside him. "Do you know anything about cat behavior? Specifically, why my cat knocks over my coffee mug every morning?" Mr. Hargrove's eyes twinkled, as if he had been expecting this question. "You'd be surprised, son. Cats are creatures of habit, and they can sometimes have an odd attachment to certain rituals. But in your case, I think it might be something more specific." "Like what?" Oliver asked, intrigued. "Well, it's possible your cat associates that coffee mug with something. Perhaps the sound, or even the act of you getting your day started. They're territorial, after all. Cats often see objects like your mug as a part of their territory. And when you set it down, maybe he's trying to disrupt your routine, showing that he controls the space. It's a power play, in a sense." Oliver considered this theory. It made sense, in a way, but there was something about it that still didn't sit right. "Thanks, Mr. Hargrove," Oliver said, standing up. "I'll keep an eye on him." Days passed, and Charlie's behavior didn't change. Oliver grew increasingly frustrated, especially after he nearly slipped on spilled coffee one morning. On a particularly tiring Friday, After yet another morning of cleaning up coffee, Oliver slumped into his couch, staring at the ceiling in defeat. He had tried everything he could think of, and nothing seemed to work. It was then that Sophie, noticing her brother's frustration, had an idea. "Why don't we try something different?" she suggested. "Let's see if we can find out why he's doing it. Maybe Charlie's trying to tell us something." Curious, Oliver agreed, and the two of them set up a camera in the living room, right where Charlie typically struck. They made sure the camera was hidden, hoping to catch something they might have missed. For the first time, they left the mug on the table, set to capture every moment of Charlie's mysterious antics. The next morning, when the clock struck 7:30 a.m., everything seemed like it was going to go as usual. Charlie appeared, looked at the mug, and made his move. But this time, something was different. Instead of knocking it over immediately, he stared at it for a long moment before stepping back. Then, with a sudden burst of excitement, Charlie leaped forward, knocking the mug off the table, just as he had always done. But this time, after the mug hit the floor, something strange happened. Charlie looked at Oliver, then at the mess. He paused, almost as if waiting for something. Oliver watched the footage again, his heart racing. Then he saw it, something he hadn't noticed before. As soon as the coffee spilled, Charlie rubbed his face against the table, as if he were claiming the space. "Wait a minute," Sophie said, realizing what had been happening. "It's not about the coffee. It's about you, Oliver. He's marking you. This whole time, he wasn't just being playful. He's been bonding with you, using the coffee to get your attention, so you'd focus on him." It finally clicked. Charlie's obsession with the coffee mug wasn't about mischief. It was his way of seeking attention and asserting his bond with Oliver. Oliver laughed at the realization. Charlie wasn't being an inconvenience. He was simply trying to share those quiet moments in the morning with his human. "Charlie," Oliver said softly, rubbing the cat's head, "you little weirdo. I see what you're doing now." From that day on, Oliver didn't get frustrated when Charlie knocked over the coffee. Instead, he would laugh and give his cat the attention he so clearly craved. The mystery was solved, and the two of them, man and cat, could continue their mornings together, as they always had, in perfect harmony. Have you had a quirky experience with your pet that you couldn't quite explain? Or maybe a strange behavior that left you scratching your head? Share your stories with us in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this tale of feline mischief and discovery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more heartwarming animal stories and mysteries we'll uncover together.